The possibility of failure is a reality for every entrepreneur, but it's how you rise from it that defines your success.
And today we're sharing real lessons learned from common startup failures and how you can overcome them.
And with that said, welcome to BizNest. My name is Francis.
And my name is Penny. Hi, everyone. So
Hello,
in today's
hello.
episode, hi. So in today's episode, we'll be talking about typical hurdles startups face, and share stories of our own startup failures. Francis and I have our serial failure entrepreneurs. Failed entrepreneurs. I'm so sorry, and give you practical tips to avoid the common pitfalls.
So make sure to subscribe to BizNest and let's dive in. So, given that our topic is about failure and we fail a lot, Penny, why do you see, or rather, do you see failure as a natural part of entrepreneurship?
Thank you for that wonderful question to start off today's episode. No, I do think it's part of it. Sometimes it's not even in the same startup, right? Sometimes it's a failure of a business of an idea that you've had before. Me personally, which I mentioned in the intro, I have had several startups, or at least business businesses, small businesses that did not fly. But even though they did not fly, I learned from each and every one of those businesses. It's failure is it's a natural part of entrepreneurship because you get the lessons from it. I think I heard before about the only way to really learn how to do business is to do it, and to do it, failure is part of it. What about you, Francis?
No, I totally agree. I love how, we used to, as, when we were maybe a much younger Francis and Penny, uh,
I'm
I
still
I
young,
used to I used to watch those old TV shows like Negotiate
Mm,
or Business
yeah.
Insider, like those kinds of, like, people always talking about, this is what we did, this is how I succeeded in business. What I learned much later in life is that you can't just say, I have an idea, I will start a business, because for every successful business, there's nine other businesses that have failed, possibly even more.
Yeah.
But the statistics literally say that 90% of businesses fail, most within its first 5 years. Yeah, most within its first 5 years, even more during its first year alone, right? So, um, I think I wanted to define this, that uh, failure is a part of your business journey, but in a way, failure, it's only a failure, it's really only a failure if it ends your business. That means it's failed, right? Your business has failed, like you decide to pack up and leave off. Otherwise, it's really just a setback if you're able to overcome that failure. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that
Yeah.
is my take. That is my take. So that is, I mean,
So,
honestly,
Francis, let me
yeah.
let me ask you like a very quick question. Do you have? Can you share like a quick anecdote of one of the businesses that you've had before that you considered as a failure,
That's a failure.
and what happened? Yeah.
How far do I have to dig back? I,
Yeah, because I know you've had a ton of
no,
businesses that
it's
you
really,
yeah.
and it's really more like it's in the past. Some of them succeeded to a certain degree. Some of them flew. Some of them were like just silly ideas. I remember, uh,
Mm,
uh, uh, there was a time when we wanted to put up, say, for example, an events company, right? But
mm,
given that time, I think we had a lot of people who were the right people for our team, but because we were also working, like we wanted to do it as a side hustle, but
mm-hmm.
I think nobody was really able to commit full time to it until
Okay.
it just naturally sort of fizzled out. Like nobody really took it seriously, so we wanted to take it. I think it died before it is stillbirth. By the way, we had you had a natural like, oh, we had a friend who's gotten married, so
Mhm.
everybody was like, okay, we can do this, and then it succeeded, and we're like, we can do this. but but ultimately, I think the problem in getting that idea off the ground is the commitment to it. It's okay
Mhm.
when you're doing it for friends and family, but it's a lot harder when you go out to the real world and try to pitch to non friends and family. Yeah, so
That's
I
true.
that's one. Yeah, I feel like that died before it really got to see itself uh really take off the ground. But what the heck? That's how a lot of businesses really start, right? You bake
Yeah,
cookies
you start
and
with
then
an idea, you
yeah.
try to, get people that you need to get it, or sometimes you just try to do it alone. So it really depends, right? I think for me, one thing that I can probably share quickly is, previously I my sister and I tried to sell jewelry, and these are like,
Oh yeah.
this was eons ago. So what was in back then was those, were those, what, those big jewelry
Yeah.
with the gems and
I think
everything.
I remember that. You showed me the
Yeah.
was it the Instagram? You showed me the Instagram
Yeah,
page.
we even had socials for it. We didn't do any ads. I think back then, this really, really early, ads wasn't like a thing. Well, it was a thing for Google and things like that, but Facebook ads weren't as popular, I guess, as compared to now. But I think what happened there was that, if you got support from your family and friends, I think I did not get support on my side, of my side of the family, where
Oh.
I couldn't get. So my part in that business was to get the stock, right? Like, go out, find the jewelry,
Mm-hmm.
and then buy them so that we have stock. Unfortunately, there were times where I can't even go out of the house because of I needed to take care of the family, and yeah, there was a lack of support of making sure that everything was okay so that I can go out and get stock. So
Yeah.
I feel like for you, you did get, people on your side. I mean,
We
as far
did
as
have
support
people there.
goes,
Yeah.
yeah. But as far as support goes, like everyone else, like try to buy from us and everything. But then, you can't really do business if you don't have any stock. You don't have any product to sell, so that
Yeah.
fizzled out as well.
You had the
Yeah.
demand. I think it was we were opposites then, if that makes sense. If that makes sense. But yeah, tell you what. We could probably go on and on and on. I
Mm.
never fail to tell people that I'm a serial failure as an entrepreneur. But it gives you, it gives you Meet the Robinsons vibes. Like you remember that cartoon? He
Mm-hmm.
did an invention and it failed, and everybody was like, "You failed." I don't think I want to welcome failure as more of like, yes, I learned something, but
Yeah.
maybe not as hopefully not as often, but I know that it will happen now. But tell you what, why don't we go over some of what we know as common startup failure reasons for startup
Startup
failures
failures. Yeah.
and how to
So
overcome them.
yeah. So we'll start off with, the first, common startup failure. It's the lack of market fit. Sometimes when you have an idea and you have a vision of what you want to do, you're so married to the vision or to the idea, and you're so convinced that someone is going to buy your product or your service without even actually going out and testing it.
I think that's the most. I love how we came up with the list, and it was a very long list. But this is definitely a lot of. I feel should be the first that we wanted to talk about when you say lack of market fit.
Mm.
Why a lot of people would always say like, "Aha, I have a product, I have a great idea." But people
This
don't
is going to
always think
work.
that yeah, it's going to work, build it and they will come. Like but not a lot of people realize that the way you think is not the way that others think. And
Yeah.
there's probably like a lot of businesses in the market that that floated for a while, looked good on paper, but not, but when it came out, it flopped. Like I love how the idea of in sales, how do you sell ice to an Eskimo? Was that it? Like, or refrigerator
Yeah.
to an
And ice and
Eskimo?
Eskimo, yeah.
Yeah, works in sales, but not necessarily in the real world. Like if you
Mm-hmm.
can, that's great. But beyond great salesman, a product really has to have a natural demand. Like
Yeah,
you can manufacture the demand by nudging
true.
people or convincing people that hey, there is a need for this, right?
Hmm.
But ultimately, if the product really is meh, the market will not pick up on it. So that's
I think that this part here is one of the reasons why lean startup was written, where you come up with a minimum viable product, meaning what's a very very basic prototype of this product, send it out, test it first if your audience or your target market likes it before you actually develop the full product or service. This is one of the reasons why, because sometimes if you don't do that right, sometimes you spend all of your money, all of your time, all of your effort developing something that you think is gonna work in your head, but no one else understands, and now you have to spend more money to educate people. And innovation, some of innovative ideas or innovative products and services are like that, right? But they still did testing. Like they went through all of these surveys, focus group discussions, just to get it to a point where it actually works for the target
yes.
audience.
And maybe a lot of times it's either it's way too ahead for its time, or it's a
Mm-hmm.
great invention but ultimately failed. I think some of those ideas, I think we went through a list earlier. Google Glass was
Mm-hmm.
simply way too ahead of its time. uh Segway, if you remember, I think initially it was marketed as so everybody can have their personal transporter, the Segway thing, uh the thing that you stand
I don't
on,
remember that. Okay, okay,
like
okay.
the
And then it just
hoverboard, like the hoverboards.
okay.
Like you stand on them. So initially they were Segways. It had a handle.
Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah. Now I remember.
Yeah, it
Okay.
had a handle.
Mm,
And the idea initially was for everybody to, but because it was big, bulky, and super expensive, like it didn't really fly. So now
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
you see Segways as, like more on tourist spots or like in walking cities and stuff. But it did became the natural, uh, they did improve on the business, and eventually I think that's where the hoverboards came. So it's now more lighter, more affordable, and people are more inclined to buy uh,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. So maybe in a way that the original was the failure, but it didn't stop them from improving. I think
True.
early electric cars, you can consider as a failure. Like, it didn't really have a lot of charge, but now, the technology has improved so that you now have like what 250 miles
Hybrid
per
car. Yeah.
for one charge. Yeah. So yeah, that was
I
can
think
you think
we're
of anything else?
no, but I think just to cap off this part of I think people don't know how to test. I think this was
Yes.
one of the things that I wasn't really sure how to do. Like people say do your market research and stuff like that, but I really didn't know what that meant. So right now that we've done all of these things and have a bit of more
Hmm.
insight, I guess, or wisdom, wisdom on business, start with surveys. Survey your family.
Yep.
Try to have them survey their friends. Have them test the product. That's
Yep.
also part of it. So surveys could be quantitative, the quantitative part of things, and then the qualitative part, which I think I mentioned earlier, is focus group discussions. What do
For
you think,
you,
Francis? What else
no,
can they do to?
that's exactly how I would do it. If there's a pro tip, you say I bake the best cookies. You don't just go off making like 100 batches of your product and then say, here guys, try it. Unless it's a tried
Mm-hmm,
and true tested recipe, you still go out and say, here guys, what do you think? Because even if your family loves it, maybe maybe they love it out of here. Like maybe they love it
Out
because,
of love for you.
oh, cookies.
Sorry. Before we get to the next, I remember Charlie's Angels, where
Oh, Chinese fighting
this
muffins.
new, yeah. Anyway, okay, moving on. So the second common start of failure is cash flow issues, and I think when we
It's not the
started
biggest,
business,
but definitely the most
it's not
common.
the biggest. Yeah, most common cash flow issues. And I remember I was talking in it was training day for the network of outsourcing agencies, and there was a question from the audience, and they asked, like, I'm not an accountant, so I don't understand the numbers, and I don't understand the numbers. How do I know if I'm profitable, or how do I know that my business is working? And so if you really would just take a step back from all of the accounting terms and everything, it all boils down to a simple formula, which is income minus expenses equals profit. It's just that. Of
Yes.
course, in accounting there's a lot of categories, and then we go to depreciation and all that, right? But as long as you know that formula, and then you understand the concept of cash flow, where money in needs to be faster than money out, so that
Yes.
you actually have money to spend within your business, then those are the very, very basic. I think for most businesses, even when I started, uh, the money part was probably the hardest lesson that I learned, only because at the very start, I
Do
didn't
tell.
set aside the money for no, I didn't set aside the money for business. Like everything was okay. I was taking an, I don't know, a cab, or taking
Hmm.
I don't know if they understand what a jeep is, but a jeep, going to, getting the stock, or whatever, right,
Transport.
or
Yeah.
supplies or whatever. Yeah, and I would just put that in my personal, like I will just get that from my personal fund and not from the business fund.
Not It's not from the business. You're
Um,
taking it out of your own money, not
yeah, out of
understanding
my own.
that ultimately
It all
you're
boils down to
spending. It all
how.
boils down to them. So you and a lot of businesses do that. Like they don't dive into, what they say is the money for the business. So to save
Yeah.
money, to save money, they're basically like they're working their actual job while trying to get uh their business off the ground, but they're also, making unnecessary spend, for, because of supplies, what you said. You're not just taking taxi, you're taking Uber. And then it's poor decisions like, sorry, Grab. I forget. I forget which one it is now. But yes, you take an Uber, just to get a document, or you forgot something, not knowing that,
Mm,
every money spent
it's a
is
business.
money that goes. Yes, it's a business expense, and I think that's the same thing that I would, I love using sari stores as an example.
Mm.
Um, some people
So
say,
for everyone's
oh,
benefit, the Sari Sari store is a small
like a
store,
small
um,
convenience store, like a small
convenience
off
store. Yeah, yeah,
license.
yeah.
Off,
It's, well, that's true too. But okay, go
yeah.
ahead.
But when you a lot of, so the sari store is like a much smaller scale, but what they tend to do is they buy stuff. They start with
Mm-hmm.
1,000. They start with 1,000, and then they say, "Oh, I'm making a lot of sales," not knowing that you actually have very little markup for each
Yes.
product. And then, lo and behold, you take a taxi to buy something worth 1,000 more, and coming back, that not knowing that that's already the the profit margin that you're using. It's just
Yeah.
going all to, and then you think you can take some money out of the business. Not, it's just funny. Like those things uh really are lessons that you can only learn by going through it. Yes, you can go to business school, but
Yeah.
not for stars.
No, I mean, Sari. Well, depends, right? Real depends. But as far as cash flow issues are concerned, if you're going to go into business, understand your numbers.
You need to
Know, yeah,
exactly know your
absolutely.
numbers right down to the last cent, like right down to the
Yes.
last centavo. If you don't know where all of your money is at any given time, then you're not in control of your money. You're no.
I think before we wrap this part up, I think one other thing that I've seen startups do is the owners or the founders. So it depends. Like if you're a small business and you don't have this the understanding, right? They often take the entire profit as their salary, and they leave nothing on the business. I think that's also one of the things that you should not do. What I think the tactic there is to write first how much you need
Yeah.
to at least. So let me. It's kind of a reverse thing, right? Like
Yeah.
write the amount that you need to pay
Let
for
live.
everything, live, right? So that's your minimum, and then write your wants so that you can get what the maximum is. But as you know go about business and you look at your profit and everything, take the basics first. You business is not a charity. You're not doing this to not profit
For
from it. Like of
passion.
course,
It's not passion.
yeah, it's not a hobby, so you should be profiting for it. And the reason most of the time the reason to go into business is to of course be able to live the life that you want, whatever type of lifestyle you want, right? So define those first. It's true.
No, I
Like
didn't know.
define those
I'm sorry.
first.
I'll tell you off cam what made me laugh. But
Okay, no. Define those first so that you know where you're starting at. Don't
Mhm.
take all of the profit from the business, because what's going to happen, which I think you and I have learned this, and I'm so thankful that we've done this with our businesses. Whatever is in excess is for the business,
Mhm.
and so now we're able to make some investments or at least moves
Yeah.
to make the business grow.
Yeah. And I mean, I hope right now as an entrepreneur, you understand that your business is its own entity. That it has to
Mm,
have its own money. Like even if you're the sole owner of your business, that that company is its own entity.
ended, yeah.
It needs its own money, its own spending money. So you can't take away all of the profit if you don't, I don't know if the numbers are right in your head, but if you're taking all of the profit, you're not building a business, you're just working for yourself. You're basically just, you're
Yeah,
basically just self-employed. If all of the profit
yeah,
just goes into you, ultimately your goal is to create it's to create a business that can survive by itself and it can outlive you, to be honest.
yeah, true. Yeah. Okay, so
Moving
third
on.
comment. Moving on. So third common startup failure: team challenges and poor hiring decisions.
Do you
I'm
go
just
with
gonna
the
smile for a little bit. I'm just gonna smile. Just because sometimes when you start business, the first people that you want to hire are often family.
family?
Yeah, family
Just
or friends. Um, and I've been blessed. Sorry, and I've been blessed that
did you say I've been
my
blessed?
family is, I'm blessed that my,
Yeah.
even if I was working with my sister, or I mean working with you because you were my friend first, right?
Were
You
we?
were my friend first.
So, were we?
Okay,
I'm kidding. I'm
I was
kidding.
hoping
Friend
I was
first.
your friend.
Friend
So
first.
you
That's what
like,
I said.
right? Like I think I've been blessed that way.
Hmm.
That yeah, I've been blessed with the venture that we have with Virtua,
Yeah.
right? That this work for us. We kind of balance each other out. But I do, and then with my sister, of course, she's the more organized one during those days. Now I'm type A, like her now. But I do remember some businesses that I've had where I had business partners, but it just wasn't a fit. Whether
Shall I
it's
name
we
names?
don't whether it's we don't there was lack of communication
Mhm.
between us, or or communication of what expectations are, like
Yep.
if you tell me that you need something done by X date, then I will try to meet the X date. But
With the,
you need to tell me that you need it done on X date. But if you're not doing the decisions that you know they needed to make, then of
yeah.
course it's gonna be hard for me. So I think ultimately that business that we had didn't really fly as well. So I'm just gonna,
There's
yeah.
a there's a truth. There's a certain truth to why you don't do business with friends, or
Hmm.
doing business with friends ends friendships. I think I was ready to lose your friendship
Oh,
when we
wow.
did. No, no,
Wow. I'm so
or
happy to hear that I'm the only, it's a one-sided friendship.
I like no. I said I couldn't. Obviously we're friends, but I said when I think when the reality of okay, we're gonna be doing business together at some point, we might fight because you never really know the
Yeah.
depth and breadth of your friendship until you start really working together, not just working
Together.
together,
I
like
think
be in. Yeah.
I think for you and me, what worked for us was we were teammates before we started the business.
Yes.
So I already kind of knew how
How we
your
work. Yeah.
brain works. Yeah, well, 5% of how your brain works. Now I know 80% of how it works. After almost 8 years of working, in the business, right?
Yeah.
But at least we kind of had that groove already, and I knew that I
Yes.
could always go to you for the creative problem solving and things like that. I think that was, if I were to look back, it was really one of the things that made this work.
Yeah, it's I wouldn't say that it's a lucky break, but it's sort of
Mm.
lucky that the personalities also kind of complemented each other. I mean, it's true. It's just true.
Yeah,
Like,
it's true. Yeah.
caution versus recklessness, uh, confidence, type A confidence, and the different. It just works. Like, how you have
Yeah.
uh whoop, let's not do this. Okay, come on, let's do this. But you eventually meet a compromise. But like then again, a lot of times most people don't think that way, especially when it's friends. Actually
Yeah.
the problem that I have with that I see with most people is that the reason why it's an ender is they don't talk about the what was that? They really don't talk about the scope of the responsibilities. Like most of the time when
Yeah.
three friends, like especially when you have money, that like again a lot of times people think, oh, I have an idea, all we just need is money, and then that's perfect. Like I got some
Yeah.
friends together, we each
Come on,
gave
let's.
like 20,000,
Yeah.
and then you do the business, and then everybody's like, oh, so you're going to do this and you're going to do that, and then they don't really want to. Everybody wants to
That's
have
true.
a
Or
business.
yeah. I think so. We're talking about the family and friends part, but I think what people also uh fail to understand is a huge part of business is people management,
Hmm.
right? It's understanding people. You're selling to people, of course. You need to understand, right, that. But even internally, even self awareness or your self management still has to happen for businesses. But people management, how you would interact with people, how you would motivate them, how
Mm.
um how you would actually react or respond to how others are reacting. I it's just it's a huge part of it. If you've started your business because you have the technical skills,
Hmm.
because most of the time that's what happens, right? You're an accountant,
Yes.
you want to start an agency, an account I'm
Accounting
sorry,
agency. You know the
an accounting
accounting
agency.
bit.
Yeah,
You know the
you do the
accounting
accounting
part.
bit,
Yes.
but to scale you'll have to have people, and you have to learn the people management
Yes.
part of it,
And
how to communicate with people and things like that. Yeah.
no, absolutely. And then finding the right people uh to
Yeah.
complement what you don't have. But more importantly, how do you now hire for something that you have no idea, how things work, like
Yeah.
we we thought we knew finance, but we didn't really. We thought we knew marketing, but we didn't really. So how do you do that,
Mm.
right? But so would you say, what do you believe more? Uh, hire slow, fire fast, or hire fast, fire even faster?
Me. Oh,
Yes.
let me just answer that bit where you actually don't know like the scope of what you're hiring for. I think what we've done
Oh, sorry.
in our business is we've actually consulted with other people who
Yes.
either have hired for that position or are in that position, but then again, you can't really afford them at that moment. So at least you consult with someone
Yes.
in case you are hiring for a position that you don't know much about the scope
How many
about. But
times?
as
How many
far
times have we
as,
done that? We can't afford you, but can I borrow a little bit of your time?
yeah, we'll give you something
I'll give you
in return.
something.
Just give us some
I'll give you
ideas.
something.
Yeah.
Is it hot in here? but,
But
but
yeah, just
yes,
to answer your question about hire slow and fire fast, you know what? I don't think we've ever in our business, for the leads anyway. I think we've some of the time it was just they were there at the right moment, and
yes,
then during the journey of doing the business, we saw that they also developed, and they
yes,
were willing to learn and develop as well. There was, I do think there are a few positions where we did hire slow, and it is more
yes,
because these are key people in the business. So as far as what you're saying, I think it's hard. As far as your question is concerned, what I think is consult first with other people who have hired for that position, because you can't hire for something that you don't understand, even just an
yes.
overview, like what you actually need now and what you'll actually need in the future. So you'll have
Mm-hmm.
to consult with people and then hire slow, because it's not just about what's in the resume, but to how they will fit in the overall
Yeah,
team.
yeah. Although, to be fair,
What about
sometimes
you?
I will draw
Mm-hmm.
the line between, you know, too many departmental interviews. I honestly wish people would stop doing that. But I mean, you start with talent and then HR and then uh, three different interviews between three different departments that they will be interacting with. Like, I mean, at some
Mm-hmm.
point, come on, chill, dude. Like, yeah, but there is a there is wisdom in hiring slow for key positions.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
let's just say, because you couldn't say fire fast because we've never really uh
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
We hired very slow and locked out. But at some point you have to be ready to really
That this
pivot.
isn't working.
It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
working. No hard feelings. We just don't. It's nothing against you. It's we just think maybe we want to go in a different direction. And especially in the Philippines, you really have like a small window to make a fire fast decision. So
Mm-hmm. True. True. Very true.
yeah.
So we're talking about, building your team, for
Yes.
hiring decisions, team challenges, and we're talking about people management, right? But
Yes.
even before you do that, especially if you're starting out alone, this is the one common start of failure that I also see. It's
Yeah.
a burnout and overwork.
Yes.
Burnout and overwork. Um, So Francis and I often joke around, right? Right? Like if you've seen our other episodes, we joke around that
Who needs
no one is
sleep?
gonna be like, yeah, because no one is gonna be like us, right? I'm just kidding,
Yeah.
but sometimes some CEOs or some founders are like that. Like
No, a lot.
I can't hire people, or I can't I'm okay doing this alone. I'm going to be the chief everything officer because no one can do it like me,
Have you seen those?
right?
Have you seen those? Founder, CEO, and chief operations manager, and they have
Just
all
the
the
same.
titles. But I mean, but in reality, the reason why a lot of uh business owners or entrepreneurs do that, as solopreneurs, is because more often than not, you start with a lot of an idea and a lot of gumption
Mm,
and a small bit of money. So you can't
yes.
really, so you can't really, you wish you can hire somebody for this position, but where's the money gonna come from? So
Yeah.
you're basically forced to do it yourself, or in some cases, you're the business needed to start, but there's no capital for it to come from. So, you know, and this is where we started out as well. We had our
Yeah.
own jobs while we were uh taking Virtua off the ground. I mean, we couldn't really.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no point in trying to pay yourselves if you started with what, two. There's no point. You really can't. So
Yeah.
you have to keep at it. So what happens now is that you're working one business and then going to your regular 9 to 5. It's really a recipe for burnout. Like
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as part of this list, I'm just looking at it and then it's like, yeah, like, do you have a tip? Do you have a solution for this? It's sometimes it's hard to say, like, where do you draw the line between the business demanding more and more time from you, and the only decision that you can make is to either a give up on more sleep or give up on more
Mm-hmm.
personal time because the business demands it, right? So I mean,
Do you remember way back where
yes,
even Saturdays and Sundays we used to
there's
talk business?
we used to live and breathe. We literally used to live and breathe.
Yeah.
So if it's the on the weekdays we're working, and then on the side we're trying to manage it, like, and
Yeah.
then we were building websites or managing payouts, and
You
going
know,
to, yeah,
if I were to do it all over again, right?
yes,
And of course we're doing our other ventures coming soon. Our other ventures, I think I would have, because right now I'm better at calendar management because of my EA. I am
yeah,
better. I am better at my schedule now. I think
yes,
what I would have done is to carve out a specific time
yes,
to do the business. Of course, it's gonna creep up during the other hours, right? But
mm,
at least it lessens it. And to put in some milestones of what I want to achieve at
yes,
certain points. I think the reason why I was burnt out and overworked was I was thinking of all the other details all of the time. Like
yeah,
okay, I was about to sleep and you're thinking about this client of ours, right? And then not just the client, but also the finance, but also the marketing, but also the
and then
sales, but
another
also
idea, and you know what? I
yeah, and
think I
then
can do
another
this.
idea,
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
Yeah,
it's very common that the first you will have a honeymoon phase where all you can
mm-hmm,
do is to think about doing that. And another problem of that is when your mind works like, like you're, some people call it passionate, some people just call it
mm-hmm.
an attention deficit. Like, you have hyper focus, because hyper focus isn't, some people who have who tend to hyper focus, it's not just for because I've learned to recognize the signs. Okay, but you know when it starts to hyper focus, and then you think of all of the things that don't, and then it doesn't have an end in mind, so you just keep thinking about
Yeah,
it. But yes, if I had a chance to do it all over again, I would have respected the boundaries that my personal life also demands
yeah, true.
from the business. So um and it's
Which
not.
is actually a good segue to the last common startup failure that we have here, which is lack of focus or scattered vision.
Yes.
Francis, you want to talk
Yes.
about this?
Yes. All the time.
No, no, like what have you learned? Because I know, like for me as well, like I sometimes there's lack of focus because I do have kids that I need to take care of, and then the other stuff,
Yeah.
um, but if we're talking about business, it happens, right? Sometimes you see a shiny object, you want to do it too. Someone is
Yes.
doing a new marketing campaign, you want to do it too,
Mm.
and see if it works for you, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Chasing after shiny things is not, it honestly not healthy. Because so sometimes it's easy for a business to pivot, but it's not that easy for it to pivot. And I think um I've noticed that on, like, smaller business, again, maybe not, but sometimes you talk about like small businesses and startups, but when you think about let's say you develop a product, and the key
Mm-hmm.
focus of the product is to, let's say, let's invent a theoretical product that it can do HR stuff, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you develop a product that can do HR stuff, but then over the course of it, you realize, oh, but finance will need to dive into this, and then you realize, like, oh, why not uh, also take on the finance things, and then say, why not invent it so that it can also do other things, because it can, like, a lot of things overlap with each other, right? And that's why you
Yep.
sometimes see a lot of those weird those weird, like, even if you go out and into the real world, you'll often see a lot of things that sort of like weirdly overlap, like cell phone repair
Mm-hmm.
shop but also sells perfume. you know yeah, you have a salon. Yeah, say for example, you have a
Mm-hmm.
salon that also weirdly enough has mannequins, that because it's also selling dresses, because oh,
Yeah.
it's also my passion, I cut hair and I also sew a dress, so I just decided to merge them all together. Like, a lot of people, there's a lot of real world examples of that happening, when people, like,
Mm-hmm.
think that they see a natural progression to their business, and then try to add it, and now you have two things that you're juggling, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, just be careful of that. Obviously, some of it works, but you ask yourself, Francis, but they are there, they are happening. But I'm just, like, for me, maybe in the longer term, I just see two businesses that are destined to fail, especially if it's starting out. And I mean, you can
Yeah.
only, the failure is only obvious. Hindsight is 2020, and that's the only time we can say, maybe I shouldn't have done that. You start a cake business, and then you decided, okay, since I'm delivering the cakes, why don't I do a delivery business as well? No, stop it. Focus on delivering the darn cakes.
I just had an image of you like just slapping someone's hand. No, stop it. No, stop. You know, because sometimes you're excited, right? Like you just want to do all of the things that you're interested in and could be related to what you're doing now. But sometimes I think people also forget that for every idea that you have, you only know the surface of it.
Yes.
And once you get into it, you know that there's so much more. I mean, you and I have been in the outsourcing industry for quite some time, and I'm still learning things.
Yeah. I mean, who knew
This
who
is, and
knew
I'm
that
still
there's
learning
more
things.
layers to something? Oh, who knew
Yeah.
that an onion has layers?
Okay. So as far as lack of focus or scattered vision, concentrate on one thing first. Learn that first. If you are interested in something else, make sure that your first idea is running first. It's off the ground first. If you have help, or you can have it run by its own with the people that you hired, and then go in for the
Yeah.
other idea that you want. So
One thing that we can,
mm,
because this is, whether you're starting or already in your business, you do goal settings. That's why, you do
yeah,
your quarter one goals, and then your H1 goals, and then your
yeah,
annual goals, and then you go on an annual retreat to create these goals. If you haven't been doing that, you're honestly just, and because the reality is, sometimes some businesses don't think about doing it because they said, oh, but my business is very straightforward. I go to work, I wake up. No, you wake up, you go to work, open the shop, and then sell, right?
mm-hmm,
But if that's how you see your business, again, that's also a, a failed business. It's death on it. You're on Walking Dead. Wait, what's the phrase? Dead man walking. Yeah, it's a
there you go.
in the businesses, that's a dead man walking. You just didn't know it yet because you're not thinking innovation. You're not thinking how to improve. You're not thinking how to market. If you're even if your business is a pretty straightforward one, like, I don't know, barber shop, for example, you think you'll just go in. People's hair will grow. They will need to cut. But that doesn't mean that you don't focus on goals and innovate, because you don't know.
Yeah,
Competition might arise, or trends might arise, and then all of a sudden you're has been, because you only know how to do mohawk. I don't know, but you know what I mean. Yeah.
Okay, so far we've talked about lack of market fit, cash flow issues, poor
Burnout,
hiring decisions, burnout and
burnout,
overwork,
lack of
lack of
focus, lack of
focus or
vision,
scattered vision.
which
Yeah.
seems to embody like everything seems to embody myself. But,
At the start, right? Like I see myself from most of these from the previous um but before we get into sharing
yes,
our
we
personal
wanna
stories.
ask. It's a good question to ask, right? But for you guys, which of these challenges, you personally have you faced in your startup journey? So please let us know. Please send in your stories. We'd love to hear from you. Send us your comments, or tag us on your social media. I'd love to hear what's your weirdest. I think I failed and I didn't know. Yes,
Uh,
it's a fair
yeah.
question.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
there's truth to that. Like facing the reality that your business might have failed
Mm-hmm.
is also something that you have to, because some people, this is my passion, this is my baby, this
Mm-hmm.
I won't fail, I'm just, but sometimes, you need to know when to, like, stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
So
Are we going to do this?
real-life lessons.
Do you
Yeah,
really want to
I
share like
think
personal real life lessons yourselves? Because
no,
why
I
not?
shared a quick one earlier, right? Like not
Yes.
having the support so that I can go in and do the business. So one thing that I learned is how important support is. Like right
Mm-hmm.
now, I have a very good support system with my parents, with my brothers and sisters. And of course, now because can already pay for them a nanny, right? But how important those are, I think the other thing that I can share as far as failed businesses are concerned is sometimes you have to. So I don't know if you know this, Francis, but I did try to sell coffee. Well, started the
Oh,
idea to
coffee
try to sell coffee,
bags,
coffee beans,
coffee ground
ground,
beans.
even
So
the
you were going to be a
accessories and
distributor, and
yes,
yeah.
yes, essentially, right? But at this
I,
point,
I
I
was so I
already
was half
had.
hoping. I was half hoping you're going to tell me no. I was gonna grow the beans myself.
I was gonna and I'm gonna grind them and I'm gonna no I'm gonna roast them, no, so yeah, I knew how to do the branding. I tested a few things, right? But we were already doing Virtua and we were already I still had a contract that I was full time
Mm-hmm.
in, and then of course I have my kids and I have everything, and that I didn't even get to the point of posting in social media that this was happening. um yeah, I had all of this stock that I eventually used up myself because I like coffee. Right? But no,
I
really,
love
babe,
coffee
I love
so
coffee,
much.
but
I might as well.
yeah, because I really bought like stock already, but not like enough to fill
I
a
did.
room, like enough to fill a box, right? But I think what I learned there is somehow I at that point in time I realized I didn't have my time management down. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have that because I was already doing all of the other things that we have with Virtua and the other contract that I have, that I can't do this alone.
Yeah.
That part, like even if I wanted to go into e-commerce, like I won't be able to do it alone. I need right now because of all the things, right? I realized that I needed other people with me
Yeah.
because I do not have enough time in my day to do another business. So, what about you?
Um. So I'm going to round up all of my experience by saying money is the least of your problems when it comes to running a
Mm,
business. Like a lot of people would say, "Oh, but I have an idea. I just need the money." Trust me when I say that money is the least important problem, because a lot of times people will say, um, "I know, brilliant idea. I have 20,000 and buy some stocks. I think that's your example. But you would that you but when you buy it now you have stock, and then you realize you don't have time, or you don't have the experience, or you don't have the market, or how to reach out to the market, right? But I will
Yeah.
share that the one fun venture that we had, like, were you there when we did um ethos? Like, we had the fun
No, I wasn't.
idea to,
I
it
wasn't
was
your
no,
friend
it was
yet.
yeah, we
Apparently, I'm
did
still
not.
not your friend.
Saw it. We had this fun idea of putting up a small eatery that
Mm-hmm.
eventually became like just this weird fast. Like, we just, again, the idea that if you build it, they will come. Like, we even did like a
Mm-hmm.
little research. It was beside the school. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then why not, right? um, I think it just went downhill from there. Opening was the best idea. I mean, for a while it was strong, but I didn't realize that people were business is cutthroat if you think about it. We had good intentions, but we didn't realize that we were making local enemies in the area, other other food places. Is it my problem? But and then we pivoted, because so when the competition started fighting back, and then uh then you're taking back their customers, we pivoted, and then we said, you know what, we were renting out a very expensive for us space at that time, so we
Mm-hmm.
said we'd come up with a way to use the nighttime, so we became a karaoke bar. And the most fun part about it is that for the year or something, that the I was drunk for 6 months straight because it became karaoke. Now that the problem became, we pivoted, but now because we were beside a school, we were now constantly being hounded by, you don't have the permit or the license to sell alcohol. So like, eventually, just like, then, you know what? Let's wrap this up. It became too. We were burned out. We were like I said, it was an amalgamation of everything. It's not just build it, you will come. You didn't do enough of your research to say how this runs. Eventually, the focus scattered. Yeah, actually, it's all these problems rolled into one. Yeah, because if eventually we were like, the lunch side of the venture wasn't doing too good. What else can we do? I don't know. Let's sell merienda. Let's sell snacks. So we started, doing grills from the front. They were, I suppose, if there were better minds or better hands that were that had a hand in it, it might have succeeded. Or, you know, we were just in over our heads. But it was one of the ventures that you really went all in, and I was happy that
Mm-hmm.
it did happen. So yeah, that's hi. Hi, yeah, it's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. But was it because of a lack of resilience? Because we certainly tried, but I think at some point we were like, I think we went as far as we can, and let's wrap up,
Mm-hmm.
right? So yeah,
Yeah. So,
moving on. That's my
so
story. What's yours?
yeah, you seem to have gone through all of the common startup failures. I think I do most of these as well. And we've learned our lessons, right? And we're
Yes.
trying to make sure that how we're doing our business now, or how we're doing, or will be doing some of the businesses that we still have
Yeah.
in mind to do,
If
that we're
people
not
ask,
gonna commit them.
yeah, if
Mm.
people ask, that was my business degree.
Yeah, true.
That was my tuition. That was my diploma. You know, it's interesting. But I think the important thing right now is to, if you listener out there, if you're out there and you're thinking, I want to run a business, just remember that it's not all roses. The journey is not all roses. Even the
Mm-hmm.
most positive person needs to understand that, it's not as easy as you think it's going to be. You at least have to be
Yeah.
ready to anticipate that there will be problems, because the weirdest thing is that when you think about it, like, I'm going to, what were our examples so far? Uh, cake shops, salon shop. I'm wanting to say something naughty, but you anyway. Go back to cakes. I will build the cake shop. I will bake the cakes. I will sell the cakes. I will go to Facebook Marketplace and sell. Right. You have to understand that there is a mindset to it that says it's not as easy as you think it's going to be. So
Mm.
what we want to talk about now is how to build resilience in yourself, and I suppose for
But
your business.
before we do that, I just want to ask everyone here. So Francis and I have learned our lessons, right? And if you've experienced some sort of failure, if you've experienced some business failure or some business setback, what's the most powerful lesson that you've learned so far? Please do share with us. We'd love to hear your stories. So
Yeah.
back to resilience
Yeah.
and building a resilient mindset to overcome failure. I've been thinking about this and I feel like I get stronger every single time there's a setback
Hmm.
that we're experiencing because you can always read about them. You can always hear about them, hear from other people, read it from books. Actually, a good thing that you can do is read biographies of people of successful business people, just so you know what goes through their heads and how they overcome how they overcame what they encountered
Yes.
during their business journey. But sometimes the most expensive lesson and the greatest teacher is really
Life.
experiencing it. Yeah, experiencing the failure. I think what I will always tell people, and what I will always tell myself is to concentrate on things that I can control
Yeah.
and things that I can do to overcome.
Are you praying right now?
What about you? No, no,
No,
no.
it's true. It's true. Like I said, the you don't really understand what it means to fail until you actually fail,
Go
right?
through it. Yeah,
Yeah, and until
all
actually
the emotions.
I'm not actively praying that you as a startup uh founder businessman that you fail on your first attempt. Everybody wants you to honestly wants you to succeed, right? But also I suppose it's I suppose it's prepare as much as you can and try
Mm-hmm.
to understand that when the setbacks happen, that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, because it can't be any other way. I mean, to be honest, some businesses, let's just go back to the pandemic. Like a lot of businesses were, you know, in their smooth sailing uh space. Like a lot of businesses were hit so hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what did you and a lot of people very rightfully so understood that if this continues, we'll have to basically close down our business. That's just the reality of it. Like what do? You pivot, right? Um, but the other thing is, and this is I think as important, you build your mental fortitude. You also in the same manner that you surround yourself for positivity, you also surround yourself with other people
Yeah.
that can work through you, that can recognize the signs that this is a failure, a setback, this is what you do, because I have experienced the same thing. So yes, if you
Mm-hmm.
want to know what it's like to fail, come talk to me.
Okay. I wasn't expecting it to go that way, but
No, but it's true, because I mean, to be honest, it's just apart from that. Like, I am happy to talk to you about what you're not recognizing at this time. I'm not saying it's hard, because it's hard to be that one person to say you're going down the wrong path, because you can see the signs that's what's happening. And as much as
mm,
sometimes you can say maybe don't do that, they are their own person. Sometimes they cannot see through the fog, and all you can
true.
do is like it's just watch this train wreck happen in front of you. Um, you know, I mean, is that so wrong? Because you can recognize society, but you also know that it's not your place to say, dude, it's not going the way that you think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Developing a mental,
Yeah.
emotional agility is maybe the one other, apart from the fortitude, apart from, surrounding yourself with people who can you learn from, but developing emotional agility is just as important. You have to be adaptable. You have to be, uh, but where does this adaptability come from? Again, it's just plain experience. You don't really know how it's going to happen. Probably the same as you don't really understand heartbreak until you can't understand
Mm.
heartbreak by reading it in romance novels. You really won't understand it until it happens to you. So if you haven't failed in business, I hope you failed in a relationship. So there, that's one that's one common thread that they have. Like it feels like that. Sometimes it's just as
Mm.
bad as that. You feel that, oh, there's no tomorrow. I can't get up. It's too heavy.
So we want to know your answer to this. How do you stay resilient when you're facing failure? So you've heard it from us. Please share your tips. I know that if you share it in the comment section down below, that
Mhm.
that comment might be what someone else needs, right? So please
It
do share your
it might be
tips.
exactly what they need. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think before we wrap everything up, we're kicking. Okay,
I
sorry.
think
Hold on. Let me do
we've
that
been on
again.
a roll as usual, but
Yeah.
it's great that we're able to get this off our chest. But
Yeah. So before we wrap everything up, we're kicking off something new on business, and we're super
yes,
excited about it. It's a quick interactive segment called.
what's your take? We answer. Now it's your turn.
So here's how it works. So every episode we'll tackle one question. Francis and I will answer, and then we're turning the mic to you to answer as well.
Here, you can
So
have mine.
Francis.
Huh? What? Me? Well, okay. So let's dive into today's question. How
Hmm.
do I know if I should pivot after failure or should I keep pushing through? And I'm hoping that this is something that benefits someone because I looked at the question that we made for ourselves. It's like, well, why don't you answer
It's
it? And
hard.
that
Yeah.
yeah, I know that's the point.
Yeah, I guess we did say a thought provoking question, right? And it's
Yes.
hard to say because every situation is different, right? I think I think every setback, everything that isn't working in your business means that you need to do an action plan or you need to do something to improve it, right?
Yes.
To improve it. Now, when it comes to a point where you're already lacking resources and lacking resources, whether it's you don't have the time
Mm-hmm.
um, and your priorities have shifted. Sometimes there is some benefit in knowing when to quit. Um, for me, I think the only reason I would stop after a failure is if my priorities have shifted or if this isn't fun anymore, right? Like
This
this is
isn't
business. Like
fun
of course
anymore.
it's no, yeah. I mean, I am in business to profit, right? But I'm also doing this business because some sick part of me is having fun. No, really. Like, why would you go into business that you're at least not getting some
Because
fulfillment
it pays the
out of it?
bills.
Yeah, it does, but then you're not happy.
Yeah.
Like, like if you really think about it, after the money comes in, and what else is there? Why are you doing it? Is it
I
just to
will
get more money, right? But
I will
again, just to answer, hold on,
yeah,
just
go.
to answer the question, if you think that line of business or that business is something that your heart still
Isn't
calls you to
it?
do, I'm very
Mhm.
big on intuition and gut instinct. If it still calls to you, then maybe all you have to do is improve on the business,
Mhm.
as long as your heart tells you that, as long as you still have the resources. If you don't have the resources, then maybe, you know, pivot, maybe find those resources first and then try again. I
Yeah.
think that's going to be my answer. What about you?
Sure. But before that, does it call you by your name?
Yes, it does. This is
No,
no.
I honestly dreaded going first or going second because
Hmm.
what if your answer is my answer? Which,
Mm-hmm.
strangely enough, I think there's a different line.
Taken him.
Yeah, there's a different line to it because I keep looking at the different times when you have a brilliant beyond brilliant idea. Now all you need
Mm-hmm.
is time, effort, money. Is it time, effort, money, resources, right? And then it because it feels like they're little things. Like you start your business idea and then it's just you lack a bit of you lack resources, you lack funds. So what's the automatic thing for you to do is they can try to secure a loan and then try to keep it going. And or when it starts doing uh that thing where you started it and it seems to do great and then the business flags, then you try to just push through a little bit. Maybe it just needs a little more time, a little more marketing. And sometimes the problem is, when do you see that pushing that pushing the effort just a little bit more is starting to take a toll on you. If I give in more hours, if I just borrow more money, if I just borrow more money, that it will succeed, right? But when do you start realizing that it's no longer worth the effort because you've sunk in too much money or you've put in too much effort and it's not really happening, right? So uh pivot and pivot and pivot, but you have to understand when do you stop pivoting, right? You can't keep pushing for the product if the goals that you set for the business keeps failing, right? So I think that for
Mm.
me, the real answer that I keep seeing is you have to set the goals and then try to check if it's still worth pursuing them. So if you say, I need to make these sales in order to continue with the product, or I need to develop it in X amount of time. If you see that, you created your goals and then you failed, you created another set of goals and then you failed, you need to be able to check and see, can we still pivot and make it work? And that's the only thing you can say, because it's not because you lack a little bit of time and then it's going to happen. If the goals didn't work, maybe it's time to see fold and then maybe sell off the idea. So that's it for me, honestly. I think
So, what about you guys? Let us know after facing failure. How do you decide whether to pivot or keep pushing through? We would love your thoughts on this.
honestly would love your own thoughts. So yeah, to summarize, it's a great thing to wrap up. I'm honestly very very excited about this. I hope this is one thing that you're able to take with you. Um, we're not saying be excited for failure, but it hopefully this is the thing
Be
that
excited for the
fortifies you. I
lessons.
can't wait to fail.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Be excited to get stronger. Be excited for the lessons.
yes,
Um, for every single thing that life will teach you because of failure. Just be excited for it.
learn,
So
adjust, keep going, just keep
yeah.
swimming, just keep swimming.
Yes, that's true. So that's it today for us. That's it for today's episode of Business, but the conversation doesn't end here.
Let's keep the buzz going. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Send us your thoughts, and please, let's talk business.
And remember, you can find Business on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Buzzsprout, and YouTube. So you can listen anytime and anywhere.
Until next time, keep building, keep learning, and keep making your mark.
See you in the next episode.
See ya. Just
Bye.
keep swimming. Just keep